Initialize dampeners. Cut into feed. Begin transmission.
This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? It's Joneser, your favorite comic book guy. So let's do this!
What a revolting situation. Once again, I'm trying to do some stuff over here, and my mouse accidentally clicked Joneser's intro. Oh, well. Good to see you guys tonight. Glad you guys showed up. The complete late night intro didn't show, and I'm not going to re-show it. I was over here trying to look at the comments and see who all's here. So let me go ahead and say hello to everyone who showed up. Of course, Johnny Sorensen in. I owe silver, he says. Yep, you owe some silver, dude. George Valentine, glad to see you, sir. Glad you showed up. Gojitron is here tonight with the intro to the Lone Ranger. Jamie Sanders, good to see you, my dear. And my favorite girl, Ocean Breeze Salty, is here as well. And Brent Graham has shown up. Good to see you, sir. Lone Ranger reminds me of Batman and Robin, Bo and Luke Duke, Hazard, Green Hornet, and Kato. Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's I Like Salt, waiting with the others. Hello, Ocean Breeze Salty, he says. Screw Your Feelings is in the house. Good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. And, oh, no, you echoing. Is I echoing? I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm echoing. Oops. My brain can't register. More vodka. Straighten it out. Uh-oh. Echo. Joneser, am I echoing?
Not me, or not on my end.
OBS says I'm echoing. You got me, says Garny Sorensen. Let's go on another adventure, says the Gilster. Good to see you, Gilster. Who is that masked man over there beside me? It looks like Joneser to me.
Oh no, my cap gun.
You're out of cap. Oh, there it went. They don't make them like they used to. Mine was nickel plated.
Can you hear the pop? Is that echoing?
No, Gojitron says he's not getting any echoing here. Are you in a cave, OBS? 2 channels. Okay. Okay, I'll restart, says OBS. Okay, well, we'll don't go full restart. Just close your browser altogether and then open it back up, but don't restart your computer. Good grief. That takes
Don't
forever.
ever go full restart.
No, because when you do that, that's when Microsoft will install all those updates and take forever. Oh, wait a minute. Here she goes. Okay, I'm a retard. I had another tab open. Yeah, that happens. I've done that before. Oh, look, there's Mike Fee.
Right. We all make mistakes, push the wrong button.
Yeah, I just made one earlier tonight.
I was sitting there like, am I up? Like, what?
What the hell happened? Yeah, that I was going up, and I think my mouse must have moved over and hit your intro as I was scrolling up.
Yes, Blue Sasquatch, this is live with errors and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's live. You never know what's going to happen when it's live. Hey, Brent, good to see you. And, yeah, there he is, the Blue Sasquatch. We have a banner for him. Let's see where it's at. Here we go. This is not live. It was recorded earlier. Sorry, Blue Sasquatch. Moving on through the comments, I like Salt says, I hit a roll of caps with a hammer as a youngster, can still barely hear out of my right ear. I shot an M60 machine gun without any damn earplugs in my ear, and that's what got me. We are both here, but both phones are dying, so we will watch from TV. That's the best place to watch, especially a show like this, because you can't see all the details and stuff on a phone. Blue Sasquatch likes your cool cap gun.
Yeah, high dollar store purchase.
And Johnny Sorensen is telling the Blue Sasquatch that this has been sent back from the future to the past, so you can watch it now.
Yeah, speaking of other masked maniacs, do we have one in the wings here?
We do, as a matter of fact. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him in. I'm not going to intro folks tonight because I don't want to sit there and fool around and screw things up. There he is.
Oh, I've been shot. Oh, God.
I don't know what it is with all these masked men in the room. Go try plan on robbing a stagecoach, Joneser. I don't know, but Johnny Sorensen looks like one of the Beagle Boys.
Yeah, we're going to go rob McDuck. Some McDuck money.
Wow. Yeah. Matter of fact, guys, Johnny Sorensen has created this wonderful slideshow that we're going to show here in a minute.
Don't blame me.
Oh, yeah, I'm blaming you for all that because you did all that hard work all week long on that. And to tell you what, folks, I can guarantee you, because I've already gone down the rabbit hole, there is a lot of content on the Lone Ranger. We're not going to be able to cover all of it. We're just going to cover a very mediocre of it, enough to get your interest so you will go out and find the rest on your own. And I'm telling you, there's a lot to this.
The Tread Pirate Roberts. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
The comments are hilarious. Is it still Halloween? I'm in the time warp. You know,
let's do the time warp again.
God. Put that gun up. Damn. All right. So, like I was saying before, we got a lot of content tonight. And Johnny Sorensen worked real hard on this slideshow that we're going to show. And like I said, it's not everything on the Lone Ranger, but I mean, this is a lot of material. And I was actually trying to pique the interest in the crowd by doing some quizzes earlier in the community tab. If you haven't participated in that, please do, especially after you watch the show, because you'll be able to answer the questions correctly. One of the first things that people always get wrong is, what medium did the Lone Ranger first appear in? Do you know?
Toast oven.
Do you know, Joneser?
I don't. I'm going to throw out the silent movie is my guess.
Wrong. I'm not asking Johnny because he's done all the research. He knows the answer to this.
Yeah, the toaster oven and Whelan's Misfortune. I'm pretty confident.
Right. And of course, this isn't Jeopardy, so you don't have to answer in the form of a question. But here's the thing. It was actually a radio program first. Most people think it was a book first. Fran Stryker did write.
Got it right.
Yeah, Fran Stryker did write some books after the radio show premiered, and a lot of people focus on those books, but they're not the radio program. The books aren't. And then they did a movie serial. They did 2 movie serials, and the funny thing about those are they're weird too. So you know, it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't really until, I want to say, in the later years of the radio program that all of the lore of the Lone Ranger was solidified. Because if you listen to the very first radio programs, you'll get confused, because Tonto finds the Lone Ranger, of course, and he puts the mask on and all that. I don't know what's going on with this computer. Why is it beeping at me? Anyway, so first they find Silver, and then they ride double on Silver for a long time before they find Scout. That's not the way the story went later on. And, you know, it's little stuff like that, you know. But like I said, the lore got solidified later, and it really got solidified with the Clayton Moore television show, which is, in my opinion, the best of the medium. And I've got two quick videos that we're going to show before we get into the slideshow. The first one will get you the backstory of the lore of the origin of the Lone Ranger. And what this is from, Jack Rather, when he bought the property, he created two movies. First one was called The Lone Ranger, and the other one was called The Lone Ranger in the City of Gold. And basically, I think he took episodes from the color version of the last season of The Lone Ranger and put two episodes together to make a quick matinee movie for the kids to watch. But the movies took away the classic opening of the Lone Ranger and replaced it with a song called Hi-Yo Silver Away, which retells the basic origin of the Lone Ranger, gets you up to speed, gives you everything that you need to know to start it with the Lone Ranger. So I'm going to play that, and right after that's over with, I see what's going on. My phone decided to reboot itself because it just installed a software update. All right, 7-3, there we go. All right, continue. Anyway,
the Lone Ranger, but he's not really alone because he's got Tonto and Silver and
that's not why. Folks. That's not why he's called the Lone Ranger. He's called the Lone Ranger for a reason. But I'm going to play this now. It's in two parts. The first part is the opening to the movies. The second part is the opening of the color version of the television show. Now, what's interesting about that is, in order to keep from getting a copyright strike that I know was coming, because I already uploaded the whole thing to YouTube once before just to see, I had to recut the whole damn thing. I had to blank all the sound out of it. I had to recut the sequence of the film itself. Then I had to lay in another soundtrack of music that was royalty free. Then I had to lay in all of the sound effects, the hoofbeats, the gunshots, and then I had to replace all the narrators or the announcer voice with my own voice. The only thing I left in was Brace Beamer singing Hi-Yo Silver. So when he goes, Hi-Yo Silver away, that's not Clayton Moore. That's Brace Beamer, and it always has been. And you'll find out who Brace Beamer is later on tonight. But let me play this real quick, and we'll catch up with the chat, because the chat's been just going crazy. Here we go.
Texas Rangers, Hi-Yo, rode in the sun, Hi-Yo, 6 men of justice rode into an ambush and death for all but one lone survivor, Hi-Yo, lay on the trail, Hi-Yo, found there by Tonto, the brave Indian Tonto, he lived to tell the tale. Hi-Yo Silver away. Hi-Yo Silver away. His wounds quickly mended, Hi-Yo, and then in the night, Hi-Yo, 6 braves were put there to hide from the outlaws that one man lived to fight. He chose silver bullets, Hi-Yo, the sign of his name, Hi-Yo, a mask to disguise him, a great silver stallion, and thus began his fame. Hi-Yo
the Lone Ranger. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West. Hi-yo Silver! Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again. Hi-yo Silver! Hooray!
Oh, yeah.
I did my best to catch up with the comments, which were coming fast and furious while that was playing. And those gunshots are the bomb. Yeah, I found gunshot sound effects that were royalty free and put them in the correct spots. And guess what, Joneser? I did that all with Microsoft Movie Maker.
You didn't even need to. You could have just called me. Oh,
That's why I didn't call you. Your gun doesn't work half the time.
that's these cheap caps from the freaking. I had to order them online because you can't buy them anywhere.
I love that music.
They won't give kids gunpowder anymore. Well, I don't know why.
And Ocean Breeze Salty wants to know what Tonto's horse's name was, and Gojitron answers Scout.
You can put gunpowder in your wounds, children.
Pretty good job of narrating. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I like Salt because I think I sound horrible in that. But then again, I think we all think we sound horrible when we hear our own voices. And OBS has been getting into the drink.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm drinking coffee personally. I mean, I'm high on the coffee. The caffeine keeps me rolling. I've been up since 3 a.m. this morning.
I need caffeine in the morning, not the night time, or I don't sleep.
Oh, God, I'm jacked up on a Saturday night when I leave here. I have a hell of a time going to sleep because I drink coffee from the time I get home from work until the show, and then all during the show to keep myself awake so that I can do this because I work on Saturdays, and we go in super early on Saturday so we can get off at 1:30 instead of 2:30. But anyway.
You can get off anytime if you want to.
That was unnecessary, John.
Just be careful.
I drink the coffee in the morning, tired in the morning. I'm going to wake at the night, so I gave the booze so I could go to sleep.
Oh, God. Wow, Bill.
Sorry,
yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're gonna go into the slides, and after the slides are over with, I've got something really special. I sat here from the time I got home from work until almost time to start this stream, cutting a brand new video, and I'm going to drop it sometime this next week on you guys on the channel. Everybody go like it, and everybody go and just watch it multiple times. Give me all kinds of good things on that. But I'm going to premiere it here first because I still have a little bit of things to do with it. I got to put an intro in it. I've got to put any credits in it. I've got to beg for subscribers in it. I've got to do all that shit, but it's not in this version that we're going to see here tonight. Don't mix coffee and cap guns. Good PSA for a future show. Thank you.
Too late.
But you don't need to tell me that. You need to tell that one.
I got a bunch more to go.
He ain't gonna stop. Confirmed, he did. Hardcore Wild Bill has the dedication. Yeah, Johnny got to see it before anybody did because I needed somebody to see if I screwed it up. And there is a screw up in it. I caught it, but nobody else will.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, I'm the only one that knows. And see, I may not. I shouldn't even have said that because nobody would have known it had I not said anything.
What does it play my intro in the middle of the video, or what does it?
Yeah,
do?
that's it. Plays it 5 times to a like rap beat remix.
What's up, everybody? It's Joneser, your favorite comic book guy. So let's do this.
The lone smartass. Aw.
I gave you the symbol of love. Did you see that, John? I saw some smoke come out of the end of that.
I can see that. That's cool.
I think that one's spent.
Yeah, I think so. I think
that smoke came from his butt.
My high-dollar piece of machinery here.
Poor OBS. She's got to go to work tomorrow. I'll work late. There's a good band I like, Lance Turner, Old Rock and Roll. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did too. I had a metal cap gun. I think mine was nickel plated too.
I think this thing's like falling apart.
Will those caps work with Thunder Punch He-Man? The old
Thunder Punch, that's what I bought them for.
Yeah. The new Thunder Punch He-Man sucks because he doesn't have a cap thing.
He doesn't do no punching.
Yeah. Thunder Punch He-Man, yo. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add this thing here to the stage, and let's get started on this. I guess I'm gonna put it up full screen, and we'll still be here behind it. So,
yep.
This is pretty cool. There, Johnny Sorensen's got a picture of Clayton Moore in silver. And he's also got a picture from the Dynamite Comics. And what is that small one down there at the bottom?
That's Dynamite as well, just from a different issue. I just found the nicest, cleanest art, and then it's an actual background from somewhere of the southern states.
Yeah, it very appropriate. I like that. All right, let's go to the next slide here. Late Night Spotlights presents Weird Fantastic Toy Productions, starring Weird Wild Bill. That would be me. And Grandmaster Mo Joneser.
That's not a typo. That's just 1800 style Mo Joneser.
I got you. And this picture here looks like it's from the abysmal Disney version that OBS liked.
Possibly. It's actually an AI picture. I was just trying to get a generic one for a silhouette. So I think it might have referenced that. I think you're right for where it got the reference. I was a bit annoyed about that.
Wait, there's a He-Man that uses caps. Cool. Yes, they're absolutely.
Yeah, Thunder Punch He-Man.
And when they remade him for the Origins line, they took the cap on.
Backpack twists around when the original. It goes as he punches.
I pulled them out. Maybe we'll show them off later.
All right, I'm on full screen this so I can see that. It's the opening to the Lone Ranger, a fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger, with its faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again. And once again, that AI picture looks suspiciously like that Lone Ranger from the Disney movie.
Does. Plus, the horse is not silver, but I figured if he didn't have silver and he had to get back to town, he's probably going to ride a horse he found until he gets silver back.
It could be silver. It looks like there's a lot of shadowing going on.
Yeah, that is in silhouette. Yeah, sunset.
And these look like covers to comic books.
Yeah, they're just
posters.
Art, I found.
Magazine, 5 cent. That's probably some kind of book.
That looks like a pulp magazine over there. 5 cent one. The other one looks like some modern day comic art. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, they're both modern.
Yeah,
but
2022 on the bottom corner.
Yeah, and now that Lone Ranger logo there in the middle is from the Dell comics, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll tell you what, that 5 cent cover, that's old.
I think someone's like redone it. They just redone it with modern.
Actually, I don't think that's an actual cover. I think that's someone who made that cover and put the 5 cents on it. To be honest with you,
probably because I'll say 10 cent covers were the 30s.
You can see the signature by the horse's tail. It's like it's a professional comics artist, but they're just riffing on the old stuff.
And that's Clayton Moore riding the horse. And he didn't play the Lone Ranger until late 40s or 50s.
Yeah,
I think 50s.
Books would have been more than 5 cents by then.
And that's a cool looking Texas Ranger badge there. I saw several.
Yeah, it's an actual badge.
I saw several of them when I was doing my own research. If you look in the thumbnail, you'll see the one that I kind of got laying down over there. I wanted one that looked kind of bland and generic, like maybe they would actually use. But I like all the inlaid work that's in there. That's pretty cool. All right, you want to read that, Jones? Or
The Lone Ranger was created by George W. Trendle and Fran Stryker as a local radio show in 1933 and quickly spread to a nationwide hookup. It was the cornerstone of the New Mutual Radio Network. On September 15th, 1949, the Lone Ranger debuted on television with a series of half-hour films made in Hollywood, especially for the new medium. The Lone Ranger, typical of the first wave of Westerns to hit TV in the early 1950s, had only simple plots, good guys versus bad guys. There was none of the complex character developments that marked later adult Westerns. Although the Lone Ranger never killed his adversaries, there was always plenty of action, and the show was a great favorite with its young audience. Parents liked it too because of the lack of overt killing and the hero's faultless grammar, which is itself was unique of the Wild West. How do you have a gun and not kill anybody?
the Lone Ranger never killed anybody. The only time he ever shot his pistol was to shoot the gun out of their hand or to shoot something that fell on the bad guys or something like that. He never killed anybody. And the other thing that was very unique, and Fran Stryker was very adamant about this, that anybody who played the Lone Ranger had to use perfect English without any contractions and no slang language whatsoever. And I love that painting over there on the side. That is beautiful, Johnny. Where did you find that?
That is from a Dell Comics cover, but it is the original painting before they put the graphics on top of it. So the resolution's a bit bigger. It was featured on a site showing Lone Ranger art.
And the other picture, where was that from? That's from Modern Comics.
I don't know exactly where, but it's another modern one. I want to say like probably Dynamite or one of those, but it's one of those like alternative covers.
Very interesting. And another interesting thing that people might find, we always think of Lone Ranger wearing that powder blue suit, the powder blue pants with the powder blue shirt that kind of lace up the front. He was depicted wearing a red shirt originally on the covers of the books that Fran Stryker wrote.
Yeah, I was looking at that today.
And the I don't know what you call that shirt that he's wearing in that other picture, the with the buttons up on the side. They had Clinton Spilsbury from the Legend of the Lone Ranger, which came out in 1981, wear something similar to that. Oh, I've got a lot to say about that abysmal movie, but
it's like a cavalry style shirt with the buttons in.
Yeah, and I see he's got his Ranger badge on in that one. That's kind of cool. I always thought that the Lone Ranger should have had his Ranger badge somewhere on his uniform to kind of show that he was a Ranger. Enjoying widespread acclaim, the Lone Ranger became a cultural icon, delighting fans through a multitude of mediums. Excuse me. From the richly woven novels and engaging newspaper strips to the enduring comic book series by Dell, the character's charm transcended into the silver screen, film serials, a captivating live action television show, and various animated renditions spanning the years. And there is a painting of Clayton Moore on the great horse Silver. And I've seen that painting in several places, and that is a beautiful painting. And then we have a picture that looks like it's from a modern day comic book on the other side.
Darwin Cook, who did like the New Frontier Justice League and did the awesome run on Catwoman. A lot of his art is based on like 50s style stuff.
Right.
That's really good stuff. But they did an animated movie of that with that same art style. It's great.
Fantastic artist. He unfortunately passed a few years ago.
Now, at the bottom here, we talk about when the character's charm transcended in the silver screen. It started with 2 different movie serials. And the movie serials are different animal in and of themselves. First of all, the name that they use for the Lone Ranger, which we all think of as John Reed, is not necessarily the name that they used, because his brother's name was Dan. We know that, but they never said what his name was until later on in the lore, which is interesting. But the the movie serials were put out before anybody even knew what his name was. So they gave him different names in both movie serials. He got a different name in the first movie serial than he did in the other one. And one of the things that they did in the movie serials that was weird was they didn't want you to know which character in the movie serial was the Lone Ranger. So there was a variety of people that could have been the Lone Ranger in the first movie serial. And you as the viewer were supposed to guess which one of them it was, which is kind of interesting. And he wore a full face mask that covered his entire face in the movie serials. Then there was the live action television show with Clayton Moore, later John Hart, in the fourth season, which didn't go over too well. Then George Rather got a hold of the property and he hired Clayton Moore back for a fifth season in color. And then there was an animated series in the 1960s, which is a weird show. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you look on YouTube to find it. It's quite interesting. And then, of course, there was another animated show that was done by Filmation where they teamed up. Well, actually, they didn't team up. They had the different shows on. It was like the Tarzan, Lone Ranger, Zorro Adventure Hour. And they would show an episode of Tarzan, an episode of the Lone Ranger, and then an episode of Zorro after that. But the characters never interacted with one another in the series itself. So that kind of covers that. Let's get to the next slide there. Jones, will take over.
The Ranger radio show of 1933. The Lone Ranger is a radio series that first premiered on Detroit, Michigan's radio station WXYZ on January 30th or 31st, 1933, and ran for over 3,000 episodes. Impressive. Yeah. According to actor-director Chuck Livingston, who began working on the show in August 1933, George Trendle wanted to create essentially a Robin Hood type character into the Old West. Original director Jim Jewell found writer Fran Stryker, and between them and Trendle, they created the character. Even though the radio show was aimed at children, adults made up at least half of its audience. The tales of his tragic origins, partnership with Tonto, and selfless heroism to defend the innocence of the American frontier led him to become an enduring icon of American culture.
And the reason that it's unknown which date that it started at, first of all, it was a long, long time ago. Second of all, there was a test program that was shown on a different radio station that they were just kind of getting their feet wet with it. So, and then of course later on it went nationwide, and there was 2 or 3 voice actors that played him. So let's get on the next slide. Maybe I've skipped one. Come on, quit it. Why is it doing this to me, Johnny? All right, that's slide 7. It won't let me show slide 8. There we go. The Ranger radio show in 1933. The Lone Ranger was voiced by many voice actors, including George L. Barrett, George Seaton, James Jewell, Jack Deeds only played him for one episode. The immortal Earl Gracer, which is the actor that you see in the picture there, and Brace Beamer, who is the original announcer. If you go fast on the key mouse taps, it does that. Thank you, Johnny. Earl Gracer and Brace Beamer, who was the original announcer on the show, who later became the Lone Ranger, and also is the voice saying Hi-Yo Silver on the television show. And the reason they did that was because no one could do it better than he, not even Clayton Moore. So Clayton never said Hi-Yo Silver when he was playing the character. They always put in Brace Beamer's voice. And then finally there's Fred Foy, who played him on the radio show. There we go. And you can take over there from Fran Stryker there, Jonger.
Fran Stryker was a freelance radio writer who worked closely with George W. Trendle and played a crucial role in creating and developing iconic radio programs. He was hired by Trendle to write scripts for WXYZ Radio in Detroit. Fran Stryker is best known for his significant contributions to the creation of the Lone Ranger. a highly successful radio series that premiered in 1933. Stryker's imaginative storytelling and scripting skills helped shape the character of the Lone Ranger, and he continued to write scripts for the show. Additionally, Stryker wrote for the Green Hornet and other radio programs. Despite his creative contributions, Stryker, along with Jim Jewell, signed over the rights to the Lone Ranger to Trendle, receiving little more than their salaries. Fran Stryker's work left a lasting impact on the world of radio entertainment. You know, that's kind of funny to me, is a lot of the times the people who put all the blood, sweat, and tears in the work and the creative juices don't usually get all the money.
No, and that was pretty much the work for hire model was pretty much the way it went back in those days. You want to work, you signed the contract, and you got the money that they gave you. If you didn't, well, you didn't get no money and you didn't get no work. Here is George W. Trendle, who says that he created the Lone Ranger, and I say Fran Stryker did, but anyway, that's just me. George W. Trendle, July 4th, 1884, May 10th, 1972. Wow, he stuck around all the way into 72. Okay. Was an American lawyer and businessman. He was a lawyer. That explains a lot. Best known as the producer of the Lone Ranger radio serial and television programs, along with the Green Hornet and Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. He played a key role in the development of WXYZ radio, launching successful programs like the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet. Trindle's business practices, including cost-cutting measures, contributed to the success of his ventures. Which brings up another point I'll say real quick before moving to the next slide there, Jones. The reason that you got the William Tell Overture finale as the music for the Lone Ranger and you've got Flight of the Bumblebee as the music for the Green Hornet is because they were pieces of classical music that was sitting in the public domain that he could use without having to pay royalties to anybody.
Interesting.
And you can go over the novels there. I wouldn't even try to read all of those down there.
No, I wasn't gonna.
Don't go reading them all. It's just for reference.
Well, we'll leave the screen up there. You guys can make a screen capture of that if you watch the replay. I'll just quickly go. The Lone Ranger spawned a series of successful novels that ran for several decades, in addition to Big Little Books, a newspaper strip, and Dell comic books.
There's some original novels there. I found a nice image online. Someone had them for sale. Those actual ones from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can get these anymore, but as you can see, the Lone Ranger depicted wearing a red shirt and black trousers there, and that was generally what the public thought he looked like until Clayton Moore's television show showed that he didn't.
I've actually seen the I've actually seen the Big Little Books at local antique stores around here, so I could definitely pick those up if anyone's interested. They've been sitting there for a while.
I know somebody that might be interested in them.
They had the Dick Tracy ones. They had all kinds of them Big Little Books.
Big Little Books,
Cowboy stuff.
Yeah, the Big Little Books were pretty cool. And what a lot of people don't understand about Big Little Books, they were actually like little novels. I mean, they had story in there for you to read. And
they were beat up, but they weren't expensive. I want to say $5 you're getting them.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
They're beat up though, but cheap.
There was a bit of trivia too. In the early first year of those novels, one of the novels published was about a Texas Ranger that was nothing to do with the Lone Ranger, and the publisher assumed it was a Lone Ranger and put Lone Ranger on the cover and published it, and then they had to redact it the next year and change it back to just the Texas Ranger.
I bet George W. Trendle, with his lawyer self, sued the shit out of him, more likely. And then there was a newspaper strip from 1938 to 1971. Wow. That is a long run. And then
it's like Tracy and Batman.
Yeah, rerun from 81 to 84, which is probably from the movie that came out. And I love that art. That is just beautiful art. Do you know who did the art in that?
I do not know. I do not know because there was a whole bunch of official artists and ghost artists, just like early Dick Tracy and Batman and Phantom. There's a whole bunch of people that worked on it. So there are scholarly articles you can look up just on this topic to see the range of people who actually worked on the strip. But fantastic, beautiful art.
It is, and it says that Fran Stryker wrote it. I wonder if he actually did or whether.
Well, that's the official. He did write some of the earliest ones, but whether he wrote the actual strip, I think the very first strips, I would say yes. But then the other ones, whoever was writing it, were just adapting his stories from the, like the radio and novels and TV shows sort of stuff.
That makes sense.
Just like Bob Kane on Batman, who Bob Kane had. Everything by Bob Kane was on Batman until the 70s, 2 decades after he had nothing.
Yeah, they did that back then. Now, if you worked for that writer or that artist, all of your art, you basically were ghostwriting for him.
Yeah,
he was basically signing.
He
was basically signing his name at the bottom of their work. You know, I mean,
they kept a consistent quality, whoever was working on it, and the house style, and it is stunningly beautiful art, even by the standard of the day. Because some comics from the 30s and 40s look like absolute dog shit, but some of the newspaper strips actually look a lot better than the comic strips.
Well, they had some good artists on that, like Dick Sprang and whatnot. That those early Batmans, like you said, the style stayed the same, and these look very stylistic too for Wild West strip. It catches the theme.
What a lot of people don't understand was when it came to the comic pages, those weren't exactly read by children. Those were read by adults. Some people would buy multiple newspapers from across town just so they could get all the comics, because there weren't some comics in one paper wouldn't be in the other paper. And the Sunday comics was a special because that comic section was a full section of comics, and each comic had a full page color page in that, usually with a topper.
Yeah, full page. They later cut down as the decades went on, and that started really messing up a lot of the strips of the year.
Films and serials. Films going down the line here, a little bit out of order, but we're going with films first. Lone Ranger 1956, starring Clayton Moore and Jay Silverheels. That was done by George Rather after he got a hold of the property. And then The Lone Ranger in the City of Gold, also 1958. The Legend of the Lone Ranger in 1981. We'll go over that. It had Clinton Spilsbury and Michael Horse as Tonto, and Michael Horse was actually a Native American in that. So that was pretty cool, and he was portrayed just a little bit different than he was in the television show in that. And then, of course, there's OBS's nice show that she likes that all of us know that's wrong. The Lone Ranger 2013, the Disney adaptation with Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp.
That was awful. Don't even mention it again.
Thank you. And then,
I unfortunately saw that in cinema, and I'm just trying to redact it from my memory.
Well, you'll never redact that from memory. I actually went and saw that in the movie theaters and wasted my money.
I've never seen it, but I have a sneaky suspicion that OBS liked it more for Johnny Depp than she did for anything else.
He's maybe just doing the Pirates stick, but it's in a Western.
you might be onto something there, Jones. Or
yeah, I'm thinking it was strictly artist appreciation.
Yeah, I believe you're right. And then there's the serials here. The Lone Ranger 1938, the Republic serials featuring Lee Powell as the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger Rides Again, 1939, the sequel to the first serial with Robert Livingston taking over the role. And then there was a 1949 15-chapter serial with Clayton Moore in it, which is probably right before the television show or while the television show was on TV. I can't remember. And a 1930s cartoon that I was unaware of. In the light,
yeah, it's on YouTube.
Is it? I'll have to look at that.
So I found it.
In the late 1930s, Roy Meredith produced the first known animated film based on the Lone Ranger. In this silent film, the Lone Ranger and Tonto capture a band of cattle rustlers to save the life of the rancher. Interesting. Very interesting. Joneser, look at all these comics, man.
Hey, kids.
Holy crap.
Do you have any Lone Rangers in your collection of
You
crap?
know, I want to
Got
say
some
that
silver
one in
comics,
the bottom
Joneser.
corner there looks very familiar to me. Bottom left corner.
That's the
The
final
one-
issue of the Dell.
Really?
145.
I might have to look. That looks very familiar. I might have that sitting around somewhere.
So, Joneser, were you, as a 10-year-old, reading some of those Silver Horse comics under the old blanket cover with your torchlight after your parents had gone to bed?
Honestly, it was Ghost Rider because my mom didn't like
Oh,
that.
that's like right.
So
Yeah,
I was
go
reading
with
the Ghost Rider comics in the torchlight and hiding
Yep.
them under the bed because mom thought Ghost Rider was the devil and threw those away when she found them.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was interesting that the horse got more issues than his actual sidekick of Tonto. He got 3 more issues.
Silver
bit
had his own
strange.
comic book. I find it strange
3 more
that
issues.
Tonto got his own comic book, and then you got the horse Silver gets his own comic book too. So that's kind of interesting.
That's like if the Phantom got a comic with just his horse. It's like, what?
Now, in the middle of that, there's an anachronism, and that is the pictures from the Dynamite comic, which was Was that good? I never read that, but
they're reasonable. They're reasonable comics.
I was afraid they might have got the characterization wrong, or they might have tried to give the Lone Ranger all this angst and crap that he never would have had.
It feels pretty classical, like most Dynamite stuff, whether they're doing like the bloody the Spider or Phantom or whatever. Like they usually stick to the 40s, 50s tropes for most of the stuff they do. But it's only comics worth a look at, other than the Dell ones, I think.
Okay. Up there it goes again.
Yeah, go back one. Go back one.
There we go. Yeah, sometimes it double clicks when I don't mean for it to.
Yeah, it's the PDF software does that to me, even when I was creating it. I don't know why. It's fucking annoying.
Weird. All right, go ahead, Jones, and read that out to us.
The Lone Ranger was a popular American television series that aired from 1949 to 1957. It followed the adventures of the Lone Ranger, a masked Texas Ranger who fights injustice in the American Old West alongside his loyal Native American companion, Tonto. The Lone Ranger, portrayed by Clayton Moore, and Tonto, portrayed by Jay Silverheels, embarked on various quests to uphold justice.
The Lone Ranger was a pioneer in the television industry, being one of the first Western series to achieve widespread success. Its influence extended beyond the small screen, leading to merchandise, comic books, and even feature films. The show's popularity among children was particularly notable, with many viewers emulating the Lone Ranger's sense of justice and code of ethics in their play. And the Lone Ranger lived by a creed. If you have not seen the Lone Ranger's creed, look in the community tab after this show is over with, and you will see I posted that.
It was originally in the slideshow, but the damn program corrupted 2 hours of my work and deleted the damn thing.
No, that's okay. I got you covered there. It's in the community tab there. If anybody, I posted that up for everybody. Go ahead, Joneser.
The show is known for its moral lessons, iconic catchphrases, and the Lone Ranger's signature silver bullets. The Lone Ranger's iconic theme music, the William Tell Overture by, Gioacchino Rossini, became synonymous with the character and is still widely recognized today. The show's storytelling, which often featured the Lone Ranger and Tonto helping those in need, contributed to its popularity and enduring appeal. Hope I didn't butcher that fella's name too bad.
No, you did. You about better than Mississippi Man would have. I probably would have killed it.
Yeah, Gioacchino Rossini.
There we go. Hey, Rossini.
But yeah, now a lot of people are confused. Okay, so how does the Lone Ranger get those silver bullets? You can't just go to the store and buy silver bullets. And silver,
you got a werewolf store.
Well, silver.
What does he need bullets in the gun for anyway? You're not going to shoot anyone.
No, but he does use that gun, and he uses it very accurately. So if they're stringing up Tonto and trying to hang him, the Lone Ranger can shoot the rope so that he don't hang. You know, Lone Ranger dead shot with that gun.
Or the hat off the head, but not hurt the guy.
shoot the gun out of his hand. That was the one that always
Right.
killed me when I was a kid. But anyway, where do those silver bullets come from? And silver, a precious metal. I mean, how does he get so much silver? Did you know the Lone Ranger is the co-owner of a silver mine? And I forget what the guy's name was that mines it for him, but he actually sits there and casts the bullets for him. And every once in a while, Tonto and the Lone Ranger would go and visit him so he could replenish his supply of silver bullets. And the other thing that was never touched on in the television series, but was in the radio program, was that this Lone Ranger spurs that he wears on his boots were made of silver as well.
Wow.
And there you go. Read that one out to us, Jones.
TV show, 1949 to 1957. While the series adhered to the formulaic, thank you, Bill, structure in many episodes, it successfully captured the imaginations of audiences, especially children. The Lone Ranger's commitment to justice and his adherence to strict moral code made him a role model for generations of viewers.
And that picture over there is not Clayton Moore. That is John Hart, who played him for one season when they were disputing Clayton Moore's money. And they said, well, he wears a mask. Anybody can be the Lone Ranger. And they got proven wrong.
Why does he need two belts? Is it one to hold his pants up and the other one to hold all his ammo?
That is
I got
correct.
that?
One is a gun belt and the other one is the one that holds his breeches up.
I imagine with a heavy gun belt, you need that belt to hold the britches up.
And speaking of John Hart, here he is, and his mask was different from the one Clayton Moore wore. His mask covered up his nose as well, as you can see. The production of the Lone Ranger faced challenges during its run, including a change in lead actor due to a contract dispute between Clayton Moore and the producers in 1951. John Hart briefly took over the role, but public outcry led to Moore's return in 1954. He continued as the Lone Ranger until the series concluded in 1957. A fellow by the name of George Rather bought the property from Jack Rather. Jack Rather bought the property from George Trendle in 1954. I thought it was 57, 54, probably right. And one of the first things that he did when he bought the property was he hired Clayton Moore back to play him, and they did a final season in color before moving on to movies. We'll get into that here in a minute. I've got a video to show on that. But there's a John Hart over there with the Lone Ranger toy in his hand. And John Hart did return to the role of the Lone Ranger one more time. He played the Lone Ranger on Happy Days when Fonzie met his childhood hero, the Lone Ranger. It was John Hart who played the Lone Ranger in that. Did you guys know that?
I did not.
Mm-hmm. And damn it. Okay. Go ahead, Jones.
TV show, 1949 to 1957. The production of The Lone Ranger faced some interesting challenges, including the need to maintain secrecy around the identity of the Lone Ranger. Clayton Moore, who played the titular character, was contractually obligated to conceal his face in public to preserve the mystique of the masked hero. This commitment sometimes led to humorous situations, such as when Moore was swimming at the public pool. A fan asked him for the photo. He got out of the pool and put on his mask before the good citizen took their photo.
And that was quite interesting because that went all the way back to the radio days. Fran Stryker said that the Lone Ranger would never be shown without his mask on unless he was in disguise.
Huh. That's some commitment there.
That's a watery mouth.
Now, Johnny Sorensen, I'm going to let you take over with this one here.
All right. Okay, so this one is a fun clip that you can look up, and I'm going to send a list later to Bill. That's some show notes. They've got links to where you can easily find like the original radio show, episode of the show, and also a free app where you can watch the original TV show for free in the best quality, and hopefully you can edit that later in the week into the sort of description. But anyway, this is a story from Jay Thomas on Letterman, who's told the story multiple times. And the story was set during the 1970s. And this is a reenactment from Late Night with David Letterman, and it's a hilarious clip, and it's well worth watching. So, Jay Thomas on Letterman 1970s Lone Ranger story. While in traffic, with Moore sitting quietly in the back seat, an impatient middle-aged man backs his full-size Buick into the front end of Thomas's compact Volvo, breaking off one of his headlights before driving off. Thomas angrily chased the Buick through heavy traffic, forgetting all about Moore still sitting in his back seat, whom they'd picked up because he had basically was hanging around offset after hours and didn't have a ride or a taxi, whatever they often ride. Also, they'd smoked a shit ton of weed in the alley before they got into the car. That's the backstory to this. When he finally caught up to the man and confronted him about the damage, the indignant driver denied all. When Thomas threatened to call the police, the man claims no one would believe two hippie freaks who were obviously high but still competent to drive. When at that moment, they'll believe me, citizen. I didn't know it was you. Moore, still in costume, stepped out of the Volvo and said to the man, "They'll believe me, citizen." The man panicked and exclaimed, "I didn't know it was you." So in the reenactment, it's actually Dave Letterman dressed up as the Clayton Moore Ranger. But I just love this story. It's such a fantastic story that he's sitting in the back seat and gets out of this idiot guy takes off smashing their car.
There's probably some truth to it, Johnny. And I can imagine when the actual Lone Ranger stepped out and said, "They'll believe me, citizen." Dude, if that had been me, I would have went, "Yeah, it was me. I did it all. I'm sorry." I mean, I would have just melted into jello if that had happened. And yeah, they would believe the Lone Ranger. And he never told a lie. Ever.
It's like Adam West stepping out of a car as Batman and going, "Thank you, kind citizen." I mean, you'd freak out. You'd be like, "What?"
And final slide, I think this is this the final slide, 24?
Yeah, it's a fun one.
On a silver stallion, he gallops free, a symbol of hope for the oppressed. I can't read that over my live stream. You see, no outlaw can outrun his fiery stride. The Lone Ranger's justice will never subside. As the sun dips low and the shadows grow long, the Lone Ranger rides, his spirit strong, in the heart of the West where legends are born. His legacy lives on from dusk till dawn. The Lone
from nowhere. That's one off for the show.
His name. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Johnny, for doing that for us.
I'm still here. I've just got my shirt off because it's so damn hot here in Perth.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to see all that, so that's cool.
No, you
don't. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Man, I missed a lot in the chat. I'm not able to catch up with all this. Looked like Joneser was looking at Playboy. We all know. Oh, I like Nickelback. They're fun. Yeah, they're Nickelback.
Heresy.
I gotta go pick up my kids from work. Be right back. Okay, Joneser. So Joneser's out of the picture. I'm gonna put him down here for right now since he's not here, and I'll leave you up, Johnny, with just that picture of look like comic.
So is Joneser working or is kids off on the salt mines? I'm confused about the work.
Off the salt mine. He's got to go pick them up.
I understand.
He ain't got no ride or nothing.
Later they'll be up the chimney doing chimney sweeps.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on down. The Lone Ranger is Scooby Doo's. Was in a Scooby Doo cartoon once. Was he, Johnny? I don't know. You did the research.
I'm not sure. He was in an episode of Lassie and the Happy Days you mentioned. I'm going to look it up right now as we sit.
All right. I didn't know he appeared in an episode of Lassie. I did not know that. Brent wants to know if it was Roy Rogers. Now that sounds more like it right there. Both cool, he says. Okay. Clint Eastwood was the real hero of the Old West, says Mike Fee. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to watch the chat replay later, guys. Y'all just went beyond me on that one. Well, while Joneser's out, and I hate that he's going to miss this, but he'll get to see it later. I've got something special for you guys to watch. If you remember, in 1981, Jack Rather, who had gotten a hold of the properties, decided that he was going to make a big budget movie of the Lone Ranger and bring it back. And he's going to hire a new actor, and he's going to just go all out. It was going to be the next Superman movie and make all kinds of money for him. But he didn't make a dime off of it. Actually, he lost money on it, and there was a reason for that. And actually, the movie sucked too. So, I mean, it was just double whammy for poor old Jack Rather, who I have no sympathy for, and you won't either after you watch this. So I'm going to play this right here for everybody.
The 1981 flop has plenty of other issues, which you can see for yourself streaming on Amazon or Pluto TV. All of them are plainly evident now, as they were when critics first roasted it 40 years ago. It's humorless and sluggish. For a movie about a character who famously never shot to kill, it's strangely hyper-violent. Most egregious of all, it's just no fun. The Legend of the Lone Ranger is a movie so determined to reinvent the Western hero that it all but ruins him. The story behind the failure is one of Texas-sized hubris. The driving force behind the film was Jack Rather, who was accustomed to striking out on his own. He could afford to do pretty much as he pleased. He had assumed control of his father's oil company when he was still in his 20s. After a stint in World War II, Rather took his considerable monies to Hollywood, where he married Nancy Drew star Benita Granville and set to prospecting in the fields of show business, sinking his money into whatever struck his fancy. He cranked out 6 movies in just 8 years and snapped up a swath of local TV and radio stations, and even took over the elevator music company Muzak. You could say that Rather was a bit of an impulse shopper. When Rather snapped up the rights to the Lone Ranger in 1954, the story of the Texas lawman had been a TV hit for 5 seasons, but ABC had recently replaced its star Clayton Moore with the actor John Hart, which had proved to be very unpopular. Rather immediately rehired Moore and even ponied up some of his own money to film a new season in color using real-world locations. But Rather hated dealing with the network. It was no fun. He took the Lone Ranger off TV and brought him to the movies. 1956's Lone Ranger, followed by 1958's The Lone Ranger in the City of Gold. Both were modest hits, but inevitably the character fell out of fashion. Hollywood grew tired of westerns, as it does every now and then. And 20 years later came Superman the movie, a successful 1978 film which ignited interest in mining other old comics, radio shows, and movie serials as producers looked for ready-made intellectual property. Along with Flash Gordon, Popeye, and Tarzan, the Lone Ranger was prime for rediscovery, and Rather jumped on the opportunity to reimagine him for the blockbuster age. To him, there was only one thing standing in the way: Clayton Moore. By the time Rather, along with producers Walter Koblenz and Martin Starger, had begun putting together a new Lone Ranger film in 1979, Clayton Moore had been retired from acting for nearly 20 years. Being the Lone Ranger was now his full-time job. Moore wore the costume to state fairs and children's hospitals. He saw it as his duty to be an American hero at the time when the country was beset by post-Vietnam, Watergate cynicism. And you needed heroes more than ever. But Jack Rather saw it as a problem. He wanted to make a bold, new, big-screen Lone Ranger. And he couldn't have a 60-something Moore out there reminding people of the musty black and white TV show. So Rather took Moore to court, obtaining an injunction that prevented the actor from wearing the mask in public and forcing him to sign his autographs only as the Masked Man. To those weaned on the Lone Ranger TV show, this was an egregious and unforgivable overstep. Moore quickly went on the offensive, donning a pair of black wraparound sunglasses that mimicked his now forbidden mask, he went on talk shows, held press conferences, to tell the world what some heartless Hollywood millionaires had done. Before shooting a single frame of the legend of the Lone Ranger, the film had alienated most of its intended audience. The cast and crew arrived for their first day of production to find leaflets on their windshields reading, "Clayton Moore, real Lone Ranger." None of that would have mattered had the new Lone Ranger been able to hold his own. The producers considered several actors for the role, including Stephen Collins, the future star of Seventh Heaven, and Bruce Boxleitner, who was fresh off of TV's How the West Was Won. But Rather and the others were consumed by the idea that they were making their own Superman, which had struck gold with the mostly unknown Christopher Reeve. They wanted a new face too, and this would prove to be their second blunder. The actor they chose, Clinton Silsbury, wasn't most important, as producer Starger recalled for Entertainment Weekly. He had nice, evenly spaced eyes that looked good in the mask. Fortunately, they also needed him to act. The Legend of the Lone Ranger was about delving into the man behind the mask. It devotes the bulk of its running time to his tragic backstory in the long stretches of dialogue. As the filmmakers quickly discovered, that wasn't exactly Silsbury's strong suit. Tellingly, Silsbury doesn't even say a single line in the trailer. His troubles didn't stop there. Silsbury was reportedly a prima donna on the set, forcing director William Fracker to shoot the entire film in sequence, an expensive and complicated way of doing things so that he could properly act out his character's emotional journey. He acted like he was playing the role of a movie star on set, according to co-star Christopher Lloyd. Offset, Silsbury became notorious for his rowdy behavior, including getting banned from 2 Santa Fe area bars for brawling, smashing beer glasses, hitting a waitress in the face. Eventually, the producers were so dismayed by Silsbury's performance that they made the incredible decision to have all of his dialogue dubbed by actor James Keach. Silsbury's voice was just wrong, they said. Quote, as word spread that Silsbury was essentially being cut out of his own acting career. In 1984, when Rather was dying of cancer and the Legend of the Lone Ranger was already forgotten, he finally dropped his injunction, allowing Moore to don the mask once more, which he did until his death in 1999. It's my symbol. It's the Lone Ranger. And if I might say, it's Americana, Moore told the New York Times. I guess when I go up to the big ranch in the sky, I'll still have it on. As Rather found out, it was a mistake to try pulling it off him in the first place.
You know what they say, you don't tug on Superman's cape.
Well, they say.
Don't sit in the wind, and you don't mess with the mask on the old Lone Ranger.
For those kids back from the salt mine.
Oh yeah, it was just the one. He's just
Well,
washing dishes.
I was glad that you showed back up, Jones, because you got to see most of the video that I cut today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a labor of love, I have to say, to get that thing put together. It's almost 10 minutes long. Thank you, OBS. And I bit you because you said bite me. Henry Cavill did a decent job playing him. The problem was the movie was written wrong, and it missed the mark, and it was the writing, and of course it even got worse with that next one, Batman versus Superman.
It did. My biggest complaints for the Man of Steel was we didn't get a lot of Superman saving anything. I mean, it's the planet got decimated and he got
Sure, smashed a lot of things.
around, and you know what I mean. It's like I didn't get this feeling of this. DC overdid the like everything's dark and gloomy and it just like they just forgot about just it's a superhero movie. Have a little fun.
Yeah, make it a 60s or 70s Superman movie.
Yeah, whenever you do a first Superman movie, it's got to be a light movie and it's got to be a positive movie. Now, if you want to go into Superman fighting General Zod and the bad guys from the Phantom Zone, you need to do that in a separate movie because that's where things get pretty rough. The first movie needs to establish him as who he is, a symbol of hope and justice.
Well, I think you lean into like they just got it so right with the Christopher Reeve version, you know, and I think it had a lot to do with the director. He knew exactly what he was doing. They start in outer space, they get into Kansas, and you're in Metropolis. I mean, and it's like, and each one of those places had its own feeling, its own set, and its own purpose for the movie. And by the time you're not even halfway into this movie and you love this guy.
Absolutely. Now, OBS is asking me if I have any Lone Ranger figures. Well, as a child, I had the big Gabrielle figures that came out of Lone Ranger and Tonto. I had the horse Silver, but I didn't have Scout. I always wanted Scout, but I had broke the hooves off of my Silver because they were so delicate and I played too hard with it. And Mom had bought me a Scout horse and never gave it to me. I found out years later when I went through her stuff and found it there. But by then my figures were long gone, so I sold that. I did have one figure from the Legend of the Lone Ranger toy line that came out when the Spilsbury movie came out, but that also is long gone to time. So yeah. What missed the mark? Gojitron said all of them. Every mark that there was to miss, they hit.
Amen to that, Koji.
And she says, but a bunch of shit got destroyed, but he did save us. Yeah, he did. But that all that destruction and the fact that he killed Zod at the end.
You know, that was bad, but that wasn't the biggest character breaking moment for me. For me, there were two of them. One early in the movie where he throws the guy's semi through the billboard. It's like he wouldn't have done that. And then two, when his father was gonna die and he just stood there and watched, like he wouldn't have done that. You know, I'm just sorry. He wouldn't just stand there and watch that. He'd have saved him.
All right.
He probably wouldn't have been Aquaman with the beard in that first act either.
No. Hold on, Mike Fee. No. George Reeve is not at all kin to Christopher Reeves. Reeves has a S on his name. Reeve did not. They are no relation. The name is just similar. And thank you, Joneser. Joneser caught up with that. Yeah. And Johnny, I don't know who was lazy on the set, but somebody was lazy when it came to writing because they did not research the character at all.
Marlon Brando was lazy on set. He was pulling Apocalypse Now.
Marlon Brando didn't even learn his lines. They had to put notes all over the place for him to just read his lines off. But yeah, it's hard to write for Superman. I agree with that. And even in the comics, they had a hard time finding writers that could do it. Elliot S. Maggin could do it. If you want to read a Superman story, go read a book written by Elliot S. And I mean S with an exclamation point after it. And he always wrote his S in the Superman symbol. Elliot S. Maggin could write the hell out of Superman. And it's hard to do because how do you write for someone who can do anything?
Well, it was like the argument with the Flash. It's like if you tell any Flash story realistically, he solves it in the second panel of the book. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? And even if he screws it up, he can just go back in time and fix it, right?
Yeah. And OBS says, Goji, what does that mean? He got the Kents wrong. He got the Kents completely wrong because, as Goji says, they're Clark's moral center. Kevin Costner played Pa Kent, and that basically told him not to help anybody. I mean, bullshit. That's not
Don't
what
you help nobody, Kevin Costner. Go back to making your westerns.
Yeah,
Right.
For real, man. Go dance.
That was some bullshit.
rules.
That's where they lost me in that movie. The moment he's like, I'll just stand by. I could whip at super speed. Nobody could see. Let my father die for no fucking reason.
Right. Yeah.
No.
I was like, no, he wouldn't.
And I took it as Dad sacrificed himself to keep his identity hidden. No.
Made no sense at all.
Yeah. I agree. I think,
That for their movie, that was what it was. That's what the story they were trying to tell in that movie. You
Like,
know?
he can
Well,
move as
here's-
fast as a flash. No one can see his face. And there's a fucking dust storm. No one's gonna see him.
Yeah,
Well,
he
here's the
could've-
thing. Here's the thing when it comes to Pa Kent. Now, John Byrne got it wrong. He brought the Kents back alive and kept them alive so Superman could go back and visit his parents whenever he wanted to. One of them has to die, if not both of them, because Superman needs to know that even with all of his superpowers, even with everything that he can do, he's not able to save someone who's destined to die. And that's a lesson he needs to learn. And Gojitron says they portrayed the Kents as fearful and selfish, which is wrong, absolutely wrong. Yeah. And Black Phoenix, good to see you there. Alex says Elliot S. Magan wrote a great Superman book called Miracle Monday. He did. And that book, if I'm not mistaken, you can read that anytime you want to because it's available online to read. And it is a beautiful book. And the book is in continuity with the Bronze Age Superman. The Miracle Monday was referenced several times in the Superman comic book after that book was written. And OBS finally sees what we're talking about. Oh, the great Sir Clifton is here. It's okay for Superman to kill. Yeah, it's okay for Superman to kill Zod in the 80s by crushing his hand, picking him up, and throwing him in the bottomless pit abyss. It's a tragedy to the character of the Man of Steel by snapping his neck. Well, see, the thing is, if you go back and look at the deleted scenes for that, there's a scene at the end where you see the Snow Patrol coming and getting the villains and loading them up and taking them off to jail because remember, he had taken all their superpowers away from them with the when he reversed the chamber when he got in it. And so they went and took them to jail. So they were still alive. He didn't kill them. That Man of Steel was trash. There's some good parts to that movie, and Henry Cavill did an excellent job with what he had to work with. So I don't blame
great casting, terrible writing. That's what I looked at. You know,
I'm okay with both deaths. Zod was a dick. He was, but in Superman 2, he did not kill Zod, and that can be proven if you watch the deleted scene. He did not. But he did kill Zod in the Man of Steel movie, which I did not like that. The snapping of the neck was gruesome. It's not like he couldn't have flown away with him. He would have found a way.
Right. Well, you already had him by the neck. Just fly up into the air. People saved. Don't have to kill the guy.
Killing is killing, says Eternian Ellipse. All right, there, Sir Clifton. So it was gruesome, but it had to be done. No, it did not. And Superman,
Right,
being
Clifton.
Superman, would not have. He strictly will not kill.
He was too busy getting giant chains and pulling planets around to be snapping necks.
Right.
And yes, Mario Puzo wrote the script for that, but what Puzo wrote was a whole lot longer. It was more Godfather.
Yeah, it was a lot unfilmable longer.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a whole documentary on the Superman DVD box set.
I mean, there was a scene that
Marlon Brando
Puzo
with a
wrote in
donut.
that. Yeah, there was a scene that Puzo wrote in that they couldn't film because they couldn't get Telly Savalas to do it. But so Superman's looking all over Metropolis trying to find Lex Luthor, And finally, he sees this bald-headed guy that looks just like Luthor from the back, and he swoops down and turns him around, and it's Kojak. And he pulls his lollipop out of his mouth and says, "Who loves you, baby?"
Oh, that'd have been great. That would have been great.
I liked it, but I like hearing other points. I can see it. I still like it. Yeah, there's no problem. You like what you like. We're not getting you.
People like different things. You know, it's all good.
I just like Marlon Brando as a donut in the Superman movie. If you watch those extra features, because he's like, nobody's ever seen Jor-El. He could look like anything. And like, well, actually, Kryptonian's a humanoid. Fucking Marlon Brando. So turn up. Do your goddamn part. We paid you more than anyone else on this film, so fucking do something.
Got Marlon Brando simply so they could have the star power of Brando.
They wanted his name.
The way the script was originally written, the guy playing Superman was going to play Jor-El as well, because if you remember in the comics, Jor-El and Superman is a spitting image of each other. And
I'll tell you what, though, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, that was just great. I mean, those are some of the best scenes with him and Ned Beatty, and the way they portrayed that. You know, I mean, to be a dark villain but still comical, they walked that line.
And walked it well in that first movie, as a matter of fact. And I think we know why OBS likes the Man of Steel movie. It's not for the writing. It's not for the storyline. It's for only one thing.
Hey, you look good in them tights. I got to admit.
See, they showed that deleted scene. They did. They showed the deleted scene in the Fan Zone on the TV. The expanded version that they shown on television, they did show that scene.
Well, it's the Richard Donner cut is what you got to see that. Problem was they switched directors.
They filmed a shitload of stuff like they originally filmed Richard Donner 1 and 2 back to back, but then the Salkind stepped in and completely fucked them over. Brought in Richard Lester, who brought in the weird comical comedy bullshit, and there's lots of deleted scenes of documentaries based on it.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay Richard Donner's money, and so Lester went and reshot a whole bunch of scenes that Donner had already shot, and screwed the whole movie up. Superman 2 was a better movie. The Donner cut proves it. However,
because that was for legal reasons that Lester had to refilm a certain amount to make it his film or not Donner's film. Otherwise, legally in the guild, it would still be Donner's film.
Yeah. Well, and if you watch the Donner cut, you'll see that. But the problem with the Donner cut is, in order to get it back like it was, they had to use screenshots that weren't meant to actually go on the screen, and it kind of throws you off when you see the jarring difference in the way Reeve looked in it.
Well, what gets me is when you watch all 4 of those movies, and I have all 4 of those movies, and I've watched them back to back on a weekend.
Solar Man.
And what gets me, I love Solar Man, but
Nuclear Man. I mean, sorry.
What gets me is you watch the first one, and it's like a serious take, and then you get to the second one, and it's still a serious take, but it's not as serious. But as soon as the first or the third movie starts, within the first 5 minutes, it's just slapstick comedy and like freaking things falling down and cars crashing into each other. It's just nonsense.
If you want to see what Superman 4, which was a horrible movie, could have been, read the comic adaptation where they put all the scenes in that were cut. I mean, that movie was butchered completely.
I actually liked that one, even though it was cheesy.
Got rid of the nuclear weapons.
It was cheesy, it was corny, but like I had the book of it as a kid, and to me, like Superman putting the rock on the volcano and flying with the flag and, you know, throwing the nuclear bombs into the sun. To me, it was just, it didn't bother me that it was corny or cheesy or whatever was wrong with it. In fact, I enjoy watching freaking Lex Luthor's Lenny Luthor or his nephew or whatever. I thought it was funny.
What did none look like? Anybody know? Marlon Brando is so overrated. He was a dick as a person, and he wasn't that great of an actor.
Get back to your main streets, Marlon Brando. You're finished. You're done.
Yeah, and Johnny, you covered what you wrote there, so we'll move on. OBS says, "Oh, geez, I'm beyond that crap. I can still admire a handsome guy." All right, I know you can. That's why you like that Lone Ranger movie, because of Donnie Depp was in
Shazam
it.
did have a better
She
fucking comic,
commented
and
he
DC
doesn't do
sued the
that
hell out
anymore.
of it, even though he wasn't a Superman clone. It was a better selling comic in the time.
I never thought Superman was so great. I like Captain Marvel better.
Shazam.
I had a comic. He fought Superman, almost beat him, and that was a great read. It was a pretty good read. I mean, I
Yeah,
like
and
that.
the original Captain Marvel was outselling Superman, and DC sued Captain Marvel because he was so popular, and he was not a copy of fucking Superman, other than generically being a muscular looking fella.
What Johnny Sorensen just said. Yeah, a hero can't be a wuss, and Superman was never a wuss. What is OBS saying here? I don't know if I can pick a favorite. So many good ones back in the day, and they all have their own merits. Well, that's true. And the only Shazam I saw was the old 70s one. Oh, yeah. There was nothing wrong with that show.
What, the cartoon?
No. The live action,
action.
Filmation television show. That was.
Well, they're like
good.
traveling in a Winnebago or whatever, and it was like with his uncle or was that what it was?
Mentor. His name was Mentor. That was
Mentor,
not Uncle Dudley. That was a fellow by the name of Mentor. That was just his name.
All I remember is Greatest American Hero. Who's the Shazam fella?
I love that show.
Greatest American Hero with the bomb, man. And
Believe it or not, George isn't at home.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on.
Do I have to mute you, Jones?
Yes.
He's gonna start singing. George isn't at home. Just leave a message at the beep.
Believe it or not, it's just me.
Okay, I see that in the private chat. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we'll fix up the description with links to all of
for later in the week, man. I do the same shit where I'm like, I forgot to add some shit in there, and I've made a big nice text as we're talking, and I can send it to you, and you can just go copy paste. No,
that's all I need, man. And I'm telling you, when I do that all the time. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. A lot of times when I do these live shows like this, I go back after the show is over with and put the descriptions in more so than what's already there, so that I can put credits to everybody at the bottom. I can credit the music and all that. And hopefully everything I've done tonight should be gold. The only thing that may get me is the video that I cut today, because I didn't get a chance to upload it first to see if there was anything in there that would get me. But I muted everything in it and talked over everything that was in it. So there's probably little chance, but YouTube being YouTube, you never know. YouTube dicks.
I think it'll be all right.
And OBS likes your singing there, Joneser.
I'm entertaining.
And Alex agrees. The Greatest American Hero was awesome and still watching. Yeah, I've got the DVD of it. The only thing I didn't appreciate in that was they included the test version where they were going to redo it with a girl Greatest American Hero, which is okay. It's just that version sucked. I mean, if it had been good with the girl in it, that would have been one thing, but it wasn't good. Would you consider the Hulk a hero?
Misunderstood one.
Yeah,
I consider him a misunderstood hero.
He is a hero, though.
Dr. Jekyll Monster.
He's kind of like a hero, like Godzilla, though. Like Godzilla saved the day because he smashed the other monster. Like
he's beautiful and misunderstood and a crazy monster, and like leave Hulk alone. Right. Let him do what he wants to do.
I love me some 70s Hulk comics, where he's just
the best.
Puny humans, Hulk smash. I loved that.
And OBS and I agree on one thing, that old Swamp Thing television show, is goofy as hell to try to rewatch it again. The memory does cheat, but I enjoyed it back in the day, and I do have it here on DVD at the house, and I have watched it over again. And it was better than the second movie. I'll give it that. The first movie was pretty damn good.
I
You also got a pretty horrible 90s animated show.
you guys are talking about the one that was on USA back in the late 80s, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a crush on that redhead girl on that show. I mean, I would watch the hell out of it just for her.
She was like, "Oh, Marshall Jones, you're my hero."
That'd be great.
The Hulk TV show was great, and yes, he was misunderstood.
That was a good show.
The TV show wasn't the comic, but it was its own thing, and it was good.
Like Batman, Wonder Woman was a good show.
Forgot about the Swamp Thing. Yeah, it was. For at the time, it was actually, it fit in well with what else was on TV at the time, like Xena Warrior Princess and the Legendary Journeys of Hercules and Tarzan, and that they come out with at the same time. All that stuff is corny to watch now, but at the time that it came out, it was cutting edge television, in my opinion.
Well, it was a little cheesy, but it was good kind of cheesy. I mean, everything doesn't have to be a great adaptation. Kind of like OBS said, sometimes you just want to sit down, have some popcorn, and watch something. It doesn't need to be an Oscar award-winning performance.
Absolutely. And Brent says that the Superman 3 Richard Pryor was supposed to have been Brainiac. He was. It was originally written to have Brainiac in it, and they changed it.
That made more sense than the computer lady that came out of that Richard Pryor computer.
It would have made a ton more sense. OBS says TV Wonder Woman she liked but never watched the new movie. The new movie's pretty cool. I liked the first movie.
The first one, not the second one.
Don't even watch
the second one.
Continuity.
The first one was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a riff on the Led Zeppelin Viking theme as the Wonder Woman theme, so that was cool.
And I like Salt's got a good point there. Sometimes the movie star is the woman or man. It depends on the movie and the content. $6 Million Man was stupid cheese, but fun. No, it wasn't stupid. Cheesy maybe, but not stupid. $6 Million Man was cool. And Mike V loves low budget movies or B movies, as some would call them. Yes, they're fodder for ripe for riffing on. The $6 Million Man has a plan to kick you in your ass.
I like the old time Mike V B movies, like pre 1980s B movies are good. Once you get to the modern era and it's like Asylum and other dog shit stuff, it's not worth it.
Well, you
get a certain quality to them.
Modern B movies end up being made for television movies that show on the Sci-Fi Channel, like Sharknado.
Yeah, those are awful. Some of them are fun, but most of the awful, like your pre-19, like your 50s, 60s B movies are fantastic.
I remember watching them Sci-Fi Channel movies like Mosquito and freaking Giant Crocodile 5, and you know what I mean, like Carnosaur, and
he did have a bionic eye OBS. As a matter of fact, what I want to get my hands on, I've never gotten it, is the original Martin Caidin novel called Cyborg, which is
that
was the first appearance of Steve Austin, and the word bionics was used in that, and it was used properly. It's never been used properly since. Also, he had a bionics arm that was as strong as a bulldozer. And he had a camera in his eye. He didn't have a bionics eye that could focus in like on the movie. A vastly different character and more spy-like. If you watch the very first television movie that featured Lee Majors as I think it's as the $6 Million Man, I think that was more like the novel than the later television show.
Is this the same Cyborg story / novella that was turned into that Jay-Z VD canon film? No, different again.
Yeah, the novel Cyborg was the very first Steve Austin book, and it was what the television show was based on. They changed the name to the $6 Million Man, I guess, to avoid problems, which is using the word cyborg. I'll take a guy in a monster suit over a bad sci-fi CGA any day. I agree. Man in suit better than lizard monster Notzilla 1996 Notzilla movie. Love Sharknadoes. The last one was so stupid. I liked it for yes.
I've seen a cosplay of someone with the Sharknado hair, and it's like the old Bride of Frankenstein hair. It goes up on the Marge Simpson style, but it's got little sharks going up in the wispy. Awesome cosplay.
Alex says in the weekends on the 90s, FX used to have a program block called the Triple Action TV with Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Hornet, and Greatest American Heroes. Good times.
I thought that Green Hornet show was so underrated. There's a lot of people that
Kato was kicking high.
All right, we didn't get into it, but since we're on the Lone Ranger, let's get into it now. Britt Reed's father is Dan Reed. Dan Reed was the Lone Ranger's nephew who was introduced in the radio program and also in the TV show, and spent a great deal of time. Dan spent a great deal of time with the Lone Ranger before he was shipped off to college. So Britt Reed is his ancestor, his great uncle was the Lone Ranger, and it was meant to be that way. Fran Stryker wrote both of those stories, but in modern times, the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet were both sold to two different companies, so they can't do that anymore. But now comics got around it. They showed the ancestor was on a painting on the wall, and it was a powder blue suit with a white hat riding a white stallion with a black mask on his face. But they never called him the Lone Ranger. They just said our ancestor.
Right. Wink, wink.
Contractual Cocaine Bear was stupid, but I kept watching it. Okay. So we've reached a reference to Cocaine Bear. Mike, what you did was cause me to do this. So a reference to Cocaine Bear has been made, folks, and that's why that come to the end of this show. Contractual obligations prevent modern versions of these shows being related. They are rules. Absolutely, I agree with that. Did you guys like the Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds? It was fun. I know everybody hated it. I didn't hate that movie. It could have been a lot better than what it was, but it's probably the best interpretation of Green Lantern that we've ever had so far.
I think it's the only on-screen interpretation you've got since that or nothing, unless you want to go to a cartoon.
Well, if you've ever seen that abysmal made-for-TV pilot Justice League, it was supposed to be the Wahaha era of Justice League that had a horrible Green Lantern in it. Gojitron is the OG monster suit guy. Dunks, are you going? Yes, OBS. It's that time, baby. It's the end of the show. So we'll start with Johnny Sorensen. What are you going to be up to over there on the Johnny Sorensen channel?
Oh, you're muted.
You muted yourself, brother.
I'm gonna watch the Wonder Woman live action pilot in the Ally McBeal style on infinite repeat, get my goggles on, and just torture myself for 2 days straight.
Sounds like fun. What about you, Jones? Are you got anything coming up that we need to get into?
I'm kind of on hold right now. We're rearranging the basement, so I'm not really capable of filming at the moment. I'm kind of turning everything upside down. I've got a show I'm doing here, January 6th through the 7th, Rochester, Minnesota. I'll be at QuadCon. It's a comic toy show. I'll be trying to sell a lot of stuff. I got a 10 by 10 spot, so I'll have a couple tables and drag my wife along, and we're gonna hawk off some nerdy goods.
Sounds like fun, man.
And a lot of work. It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Film a little bit of that if you can. You know, give us some snippets of what went on there. Maybe cut a video from it. I think that'd be fun.
I'm gonna try. You know.
Are you running off, Bill? I guess so. Well, yeah. First of all, we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes, which is 15 minutes to the 2-hour mark. It's early, so that means I get to go to bed on time tonight instead of staying up all night long like I normally do on a Saturday night. I've been up since 3 a.m. this morning, and I'm beat, man. What's going on over here? You guys saw it, the legendary flop of the Legend of the Lone Ranger. I will recut that slightly, add some end credits to it and everything, and I will release that this week. As far as next week's show, I don't know what we're going to be doing next week. That's too far in the future. I don't even know if we're going to have a show, because what is it? Thanksgiving weekend? I know Joneser's going to be having Thanksgiving with his family, and Johnny Sorensen, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving down there where he lives in the down under.
No, we do not.
And over here, I don't know what's happening over here, but I think since I'm going to have Thanksgiving weekend pretty much to myself, I'm going to get busy and do some actual videoing here that I've been meaning to do for a while. I've got some stuff put together, but it's in raw format, and I probably won't have any shows next week. But there may be some specials, some stuff dropping. You never know. Keep your notification bells rung.
I will be doing some Christmas movie bullshit in December. We're going to do like Jingle All the Way and National Lampoons in December on Boba Joe. So there you go. I don't usually plug anything, but Christmas bullshit.
Christmas is coming like a freight train, Jack, and it'll be here before we know it. As work asks you cannot run 24/7. Yeah, I know. I can't run 24/7. It's absolutely impossible. Oh, please, you'll stay up. I don't sleep well at all. Just go with it. Well, one of these days, OBS, you're going to have to join us for one of our get-together hangouts, and then we can all have fun together. I'm thankful for everything anyhow. Absolutely. And you'll be out there somewhere. I will be. I'll be online looking for a stream to re-own. Okay. And yeah, I know you watch some weird stuff. I do too. Enjoy the presenters and wonderful people in the chat. Thank you. I like Salt. And as always, you know that the only way that I make money off of YouTube right now is from your generous donations, either from Streamlabs or from Super Chats or Super Likes. So when you watch my videos, there is an option for Super Like that. So if you watch a video that you really enjoy and you got a few extra bucks you want to throw my way, hey, I appreciate it. I got Patreon. You can run over there. You can be a member. There's several tiers. You can be a free member if you want to. There is some free content, not a lot, but there is some. You can be a member for any amount of money you want to give, or you can join one of the tiers. All that money goes strictly back into the show. And one of these days, I'll have enough money to buy a decent down computer and cut out some of the crap that goes on over here. We've got a pretty good show tonight, Jones, or I believe. What do you think, man?
I do. We weren't stuttering. We had good connection. If we can just figure out when to not play my music in the middle of the intro, it'd have been perfect.
I still pretty good, but that's just my New Zealand Aussie accent. Wasn't the Bill's
What's
instinct.
up, everybody? It's Joneser, your favorite comic book guy. So let's do this.
Yeah,
and there we are.
Oops. Well, yeah, I've got to learn how to control my mouse, and I swear,
Oh, you got a super chat.
I think this thing clicks on its own sometimes. Oh, wow. Thank you. I like Salt. Thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that.
Nice. Thank you, sir.
That kind of money better put
I like Salt coming there and enjoy the show. Thank you, sir. And I know I had some competition tonight on several different sources. So the fact that you showed up over here means the world to me, man. It really does. You just don't know. And yeah, absolutely. We're gonna say a good journey to everyone at this time. And thank you, OBS. I had a great show. Thank you to my two co-hosts who joined me tonight. I don't know if Jonesy will be with me tomorrow, but I am doing a show tomorrow. And basically, we're just going to look at some superpower stuff and some stuff that's on my desk and some stuff I got going on. So we'll figure out what's going on from there.
And I do one shout out for you, Finn. I sent you an email, Bill, with like show note links to various playlists of Ranger media, like the show, the animation, blah, 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 that you can chuck in. Also, one I didn't mention there, there's a free app I found this week called Plex, Plex. It's free. It has old movies and horror and westerns and shit. It's got the best free version of YouTube. Better than the YouTube season 1 Clayton Moore show. If you want to watch on a tablet or phone, watch on YouTube. If you want a better version, watch on TV, get the Plex app, Plex. It's got the best high quality version of the original Clayton Moore show.
If you didn't put that in the email that you sent me, send me a link to that.
I'll send you a second one just with that.
Sounds good to me. All right. Anyway, good journey, everyone. And we'll see you all next time right here on Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures.
Special thanks to the channel supporters. Without your help, these adventures would not be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure, please hit like, subscribe, and share the video.